Hi, we're Engage People. Today I'm joined with Michael Gorman. Michael Gorman is a career specialist here at Engage People. At Engage People, we're a niche recruiting firm with our areas of expertise, including the financial arena, so accountancy, banking, international financial services, and insurance. Our main mission is always aligning businesses with talent and finding the right fit. And someone that does it on the absolute every single day on his desk is Michael Gorman. Michael, would you like to tell us a bit about your role at Engage People?
Thank you for that very kind introduction, Grace. Yeah, sure thing. I joined the team here in Engage in early 2018. Um, what I've built a desk in is financial services. So obviously we're working across accountancy, insurance, banking, and then financial services. And that's the desk that I lead up. So a lot of work in the international finance space, boutique investments, and then an area of focus for me outside of the broader financial services would be compliance as well. So that's sort of my role within the business.
And what led you to, in your career, to end up at Engage People?
Good question. Geez, I guess so. Basically, I was working in retail. Yeah, I worked in a family business in a hardware builders providers for many years, and then I worked with one of Ireland's big retailers. And to be honest, I loved the work. I loved working with people, and retail is super in terms of interacting with people. Really fast
Mm,
paced as well, which I enjoyed. But what I found a challenge was progressing my career to the next level, but then also the shifts within retail, as you'll know, can be
mm,
challenging. There was a lot of reasons why it made sense. I also wanted to have more control over my career, and recruitment is a great way to do that. And it would
mm.
really still allow me to, I guess, work with people on a day-to-day basis, build relationships, and that was something that I wanted to keep from my previous career.
Yeah, brilliant. And that's something that you've definitely brought forward with you into this role. Like you're such an expert at keeping those relationships alive. And during that transition, what was kind of the best career advice that you received?
Yeah, so someone asked me once, and it was actually someone who was selling a financial services product. They said, "What's the most important asset you own?" And of course, talking to a financial services provider, I said, "My home," and he said, "Well, actually, it's your career." And
Hmm.
he said most people spend most of their money on things like their home or their car, but he says, never stop investing in your career. It will pay for that car, it will pay for that home, it will pay for your education, support your family, and hopefully provide you a good pension at the end. And the
Hmm.
more you invest in it, the more you'll get back from it. So I think to see your career as something that you have to invest in to grow was really good advice and gave perspective to my finances and my planning.
Hmm. And any kind of really uncomfortable experiences or difficult kind of challenges in your career that have taught you some really important lessons of your own?
I guess when I came out of college, I went straight into management within retail, and it was actually in a store that I'd worked in part time before. So I was essentially going to be managing the people who would have been directing my work, and that was a tricky one.
Wow.
I was probably one of these college kids with great ideas, a little bit naive about how the world works, a little bit idealistic, but also very nervous about how that was going to work. But
Hmm.
I think one of the skills I learned at a very early stage is like one of the best tools in your arsenal is the ability to listen.
Hmm.
If anyone can just listen, if you think you're going in there as a manager and you have to have all the answers and you have to direct everything, I think you miss the point. The guys that I worked with were brilliant, really accepting of that transition. A lot of them have gone on to do great things, and the business since I've left has gone on to do even greater things.
That's
I think
great.
it was Retail Ireland's one of top 50 stores.
Wow.
But basically, if I played a role there, I think I hope it was that I facilitated their ability to do that more so than
Hmm.
directed us, and the ability to listen and take feedback and then support people in their career plans. I think is a critical leadership skill, and that was a very important and early lesson to learn.
And that's something that you implement in literally your every single day job when you're speaking to clients, figuring out exactly what they need, and then speaking to candidates and matching them up. What's that kind of key question that you ask to make sure that you're getting the candidate that is perfectly aligned with the client?
Yeah, so I guess when if it's someone for our own team, and I'd run some of the interview processes here with Engage People, I kind of say, ask me anything. Um,
Mm,
I think from a personal perspective, or from the candidate's perspective, it gives them the opportunity to really find out if it's for them. Hopefully, it creates a less
Mm.
sort of tense situation that they feel that they're able to ask me anything, but it also really gives me an insight into what's motivating them, how interested they are in the role, and really what their understanding is. Because good questions will usually build on pre-existing knowledge and add a
Mm.
little bit to it. So that's really helpful.
And that's such an
Um,
important part of interviews that people often skip over.
One of the biggest challenges, I guess, for candidates going in is that you always bring in presumptions despite your best effort into interviews. And one of the things you don't want to do is perhaps you're someone who's researched a role really well and feel you've a deep understanding, but you have to appreciate that you're meeting that interviewer for the first time, and
Mm.
they can't know exactly how much research you've done. So you still want to ask those questions to get the first-hand experience from the interviewer and let them know that you're really interested in the position, because it's probably the most important thing you can do in an interview in terms of demonstrating motivation for a position.
Mm. And any kind of tips on the initial stages then before you can get to that stage where you're in the room having that conversation, but I suppose from the candidate and the client side of how you get to networking, how you get to finding the right people and finding the right roles.
Yeah, so I guess if I'm to give some tips around networking, I think do it deliberately.
Mm.
Um, I think to have like a networking strategy, know the sorts of people you're looking to surround yourself with, and look to build those networks. So a good strategy would be not to necessarily try and connect with everybody. Connect with people that will be able to help you. And depending what stage of your career you're at, people that you're going to be able to help as well. I think building a strategy around that rather than inviting everybody it is clever. I think one of the challenges people have sometimes is that they connect with everyone and have a lot of conversations, and a lot of their time
Mm.
is consumed with people who are well-meaning on both sides, but maybe can't really help each other.
Mm.
And I don't think there's any bad relationship, but I think to really move your career forward, you really want to target those relationships where there's going to be strong value that can be added by each party.
Yeah, definitely. Those where it's kind of a two-way street as well.
Yeah.
That's a really good tip, I think, in general in life. And on to kind of your personal life. How are you getting on right now, Michael? Have you learned anything about yourself, about your work style, about your lifestyle?
So I guess prior to this, I was very much of the view that the office place was where I wanted to be. I loved the buzz of the office, as I sort of as I mentioned, I grew up in the retail operations space, people coming in and out, meeting people the whole time. I really get a kick out of that. I felt that the office had to be for me.
Mm.
Um, I'm really starting to learn and appreciate the value of remote working now as well. So I think I wouldn't like a role where it was firmly one or the other. I think I'm always going to enjoy meeting people, but I think I also see the value now working from home in terms of the work-life balance, and the ability to close myself off and do some of those high focus tasks that need to be done. So that's certainly one thing I've learned about myself. I think I didn't give myself much credit for the tech side. It was a little bit of a running joke in the office, in fact, that there was certain things like operating Deliveroo and simple tasks like that I could have executed a little better. Thinking now that I have to do it, I've sort of surprised myself a little bit in that. So hopefully that's a positive thing.
Yeah, definitely. I think, yeah, you've been doing great. And I think
Relatively speaking, right?
no, you have, and it is giving yourself credit for that as well. I mean, we're always trying to shape a better future. That's kind of one of our core values, and learning to adapt to working from home or innovative new technologies and things like this. It's important, but I think what it's taught us is that we really are capable of learning these things when we have to, um, and that through kind of support and from each other and from the community, that there's actually we're capable of a lot, and that it's going to be okay. So I'm glad to hear that you're learning a lot, you're surviving. Thanks so much for your time, Michael. It's been great getting to know you a bit better, and hopefully for the viewers to kind of get to know a bit more about what you do. Thanks for your time, Michael, and we'll talk soon. Okay,
Take care. Thanks,
have a
Grace.
good day.